Hey everybody, it's Chad with Nobody Else's Auto. We are back here at one of the most awesome places on earth. We are in Minden, Nebraska. Yes, Minden, Nebraska, one of the most awesome places on earth. We're at the Harold Warp Pioneer Village. Now, obviously we look at a lot of old cars on here. That's what we're on this channel for, is old cars. This place has the most amazing collection of old cars you will ever see. We've got a full playlist on this place on the channel. Be sure to check out that playlist of all the videos we've done here over the years. They've been very kind to me. They work with me really well. They let me go behind the ropes and share some of these cars with you. So huge shout out to the staff here at the Harold Warp Pioneer Village. If you have not been here, make sure you get here. Let's check out another amazing car in this 300 plus car collection. Now you can see where we're standing right here. There is an amazing collection of cars. So many cars, there's no way to look at all of them. So we're going to pick out a few that we're going to share with you, starting right here with this amazing Pierce Arrow, 1935 Pierce Arrow. Now these were big cars. These were luxury cars, and like I said, this was a 35. Obviously depression years. Pierce Arrow did not survive the 30s. These big luxury brands back then, they just couldn't make it. Most people were worried about just getting a job and being able to eat. They were not buying high dollar luxury cars. Now we know that there's a lot of companies that affected, not only Pierce Arrow, but Cord, Duesenberg, Auburn, and multiple other premier luxury cars of the day didn't survive the 30s. Packard, one of the few that did, and they survived until the 50s. But this car here, this Pierce Arrows had so many unique traits about them. This car here, as with all the cars in this collection, have been in here since the 50s. A lot of these cars are unrestored originals, and I think that's kind of the way this Pierce is. It's got some chips in the paint, it's got some dings, because these cars are unmolested and have been inside in dry storage for decades and decades. Now we can see how this big sloping grille comes down here. Comes down to a super cool Pierce badge right there. This bow tie style bumper actually even somewhat reminds me of the 34 Auburn Salon, the way it has the bow tie, but there again, luxury premier cars of the 30s had traits like this. That's why that bumper reminds me of the Auburn Salon, because of the bow tie styling in it and the dip in it to show the grille, because that's what mattered back then, was the style of these cars. Now, as we come over to this side, we see one thing that always tells you if something is a Pierce Arrow. Something that always stood out on the Pierce Arrow was the headlight pods. Back in the teens, Pierce started incorporating their headlight pod into the front fender. Now you remember back in the teens and the 20s and the 30s, cars typically just had a headlight just hung on the side of the car. We can see that with this big Lincoln right here. Just a big headlight that stuck out on the side. The Maxwell right over here, same thing. Just a big headlight stuck out onto the side. Yet Pierce incorporated that pod into the front fender and then put the headlight in the front of that pod. Now we see the driving lights on this car. They are separate, similar to what we would see on headlights, and these things are almost as big as a headlight on a lot of those cars were. As we come over here, we can see this car does have dual side mounts. It is a flathead 8-cylinder, big engine for a big luxury sedan in the mid-30s. And as we're looking this car over, we can see the glass is starting to delaminate in it. This was early safety glass, and it does delaminate. But these cars have been in here for so many years, and they have not been restored. So that's where we see some flaws in these cars. However, the flaws are what, to me, make these cars so special. Typically, if you see a Pierce Arrow of this magnitude, it has been over-restored, concours quality level. This car is much more honest to me. And we see all the little design traits in these cars, and another perfect example is right here in the cowl. You know, it didn't have a prop rod or anything. It actually had a dip stamped into the firewall with a little rubber pad on the corner of the hood where you could actually sit the hood in the designated cowl section where it was made for the hood to sit. The door handles on these cars, I mean, look at the detail in the door handle, the ridges in them. These were a premier luxury car. We can look inside of this thing. Look at this dash. Big, full dash on this Pierce. Huge car. You see all the way back to the rear passenger compartment. These cars had a lot of room in them. As we work our way around the back of this Pierce, which takes a minute because it's a big car, we see more amazing design features. As we kind of work our way around back here, and things are tight in here because there's a lot of stuff in here. These trunk hinges, huge, big strapped trunk hinges, dual handles on the trunk. And if we can kind of get back here and see, it's kind of tough. Once again, we see a bow tie type rear bumper with a Pierce badge right at the back of the car. And I know the lighting isn't real good back here and it's a little tough to see. But along with the headlights, we see the headlights, the trademark Pierce arrow headlight cast into the fender or stamped into the fender. Now that design, like we talked about, such a feature that always pointed out a Pierce arrow. They did the same thing with the taillights. The taillight on this Pierce arrow also an integral part of the rear fender with the taillights put on the back of it. So they carried that trait to the rear of the Pierce as well to show that off. So, and there again, we can see the rear glass starting to delaminate on this car as well, but that's what's so cool about these cars. They're not over-restored. They're not concours quality cars. They are honest, original cars. And seeing something like this, of this magnitude and this caliber, in this condition is so cool because you just don't see it. They've been restored to concours level restorations, and you don't see unmolested cars anymore. So, like I said, over 300 cars in this collection. If you're ever in the area, you've got to get to Minden, Nebraska. Check out the Harold Wart Pioneer Village. We're going to do some more wandering around. We're going to check out some more cool cars here. Check out the full playlist on the channel, on the Nobody Show channel, where we've got the Pioneer Village playlist, and check out some of the cool stuff here. There is no way we could do all videos on everything here. It would take years. So we're hitting some of the cool stuff, throwing it up there, but you've got to come experience this place. So be sure to check out the channel, give us a subscribe, and come hang out with us and check out what we've got going on here. And we're going to go check out some more cool cars that I bet some of you have probably never even heard of before. So stay tuned. We got more coming up from the Harold Wart Pioneer Village in Minden, Nebraska.